Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Denise Salcedo, and today I am bringing you the very, very talented Esther Lin. Esther, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, no, thank you for having me, Denise.
Yes, so I've been a fan of your work for quite a while. I remember I know we kind of really started talking when we were both covering Bellator, but prior to that, we kind of had a run in at New Japan. And I
Mhm.
saw you, and I think I creeped up on you, and I don't even know if you remember this. And I was like, "Hi, you're Esther. I'm a huge fan of yours." And I was like, I feel like such a creep.
I actually don't remember, but I feel like I've seen you at other wrestling shows as well.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's so funny. And I remember telling my fiance after that, I was like, you know what? I think I came on too strong. But no, I'm really happy that we got to sort of talking and connect and all of that. And so because of that, I kind of wanted to bring you on to sort of discuss your work with everybody here today. Because, as a photographer and as a woman, you
Mhm.
don't really see that in not only just in photography, because I've seen it both, I come from a Hollywood background, so having people, most of the photographers are always men. And in
Mhm.
sports, they're always men. And then also,
Mhm.
sports is a male dominated industry. So, how do you feel sort of being a woman in, excelling in both of those things?
Oh, well, I honestly feel very lucky, fortunate, and I feel like there should be more of us. When I'm there and I'm doing it, I realize that a lot of the things that people compliment me on, um, I like the way I shoot or the things that I like shooting. I'm like, you do realize that this is what happens when you just have a diverse roster of people capturing your event. The more diversity in the photography and the writers and all of the people that spend their time giving their points of view, the more varied and beautiful the imagery will be.
That's really cool that you say that because I never thought about it that way. Sometimes you think that, there's a standard for how certain photos are taken or how certain articles are written, but that's not always the case. Different people bring different flavors and different perspectives to their work. How did you get started in photography?
Really randomly, actually. I also have a film background. I went to film school, and I thought I was going to be working in documentaries and or just like on sets and things like that for several years. I worked as a PA or a post production coordinator and things like that. Um, I kind of just worked all over Hollywood in random jobs. But my friends always, I had a couple friends who like directed music videos and things like that, and so I spent my weekends shooting production stills for them. And then I started to do production stills for like bad indie movies and things like that. And I just kind of loved having a camera. And when my husband, we were just dating at the time, he got this job at Elite XC, and he's like, I have to go do this fight this weekend. I need a sound person. So I went and did sound, but I owned a camera and all that stuff. So I brought all my stuff with me to this fight. It was the first fight I'd ever been to, and I was like, oh, I know how to do this.
Oh my God. So it just kind of clicked for you?
Yeah, that was it. It was like random. I brought my camera and I was like, oh, my pictures are pretty good. I apparently know how to shoot fights as well. So,
I like that because I think we all sort of start a hobby sometimes though, and then we think, oh, we're really good. But then because we don't have that like practice or that study or that education, whatever it takes, then maybe you don't consider actually, moving forward with it as a career. So what made you move forward with it to continue doing it?
to be honest, the 2008 economic crash. So, I got laid off from my job. I started working at Pro Elite for a while, and after about a year, they laid off about half the staff, and I had unemployment. And so I took that time. I was like, well, I'm going to look for a job, but I also now have an opportunity to sit here and actually think about what I really want to do. And I spent that time just driving to local events and shooting a lot of, just a lot of local fights in Santa Monica and Ontario. I just drove all over Southern California, just trying to get better. So
That's really cool. I like the fact that you actually, went out of your way to go out and build your portfolio and sort of keep growing it. What would you say were some of the major challenges that you faced sort of from starting off, you're going around getting all of these local fights, but sort of taking it to that next level and covering bigger events like UFC, et cetera?
I would say definitely I'm very shy. I know it doesn't seem that way, but I'm really shy, and I had a hard time kind of connecting to the people in the industry. And also I come from a pretty heavy arts background, and MMA honestly just seemed like the Wild West. I mean, when I got into it, there was just in 2007, people were just that was like the height of like affliction shirts and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, this aesthetic is so weird and it's so not me. But I'm so fascinated by all of this. And so a lot of it was just kind of getting over the look of the whole thing, and just like learning how to talk to people and meet people, because I, I think one of my favorite photographers is Dave Mandel. He's been shooting fights for like way longer than me. And I shot next to him for maybe 6 months before even like learning anything about him, because I was so nervous to like meet another, like, meet a giant in the industry. I was like, I'm just gonna wait until I eventually. And then my husband like went up to him like within like 5 minutes, is like learned like everything about his life story, and was like, hey, did you know Dave was a hardcore kid?
Oh
And
my God.
I was like, oh, I'm sorry, I was just so shy, I didn't want to like talk to anybody.
You're like, it's really that easy for some people.
Yeah. So it took me a long time just to meet people and kind of get going. So that was a big difficulty. Plus, at the time, and still now, actually, I think just in general, when you're a freelancer, it's really hard to get paid for things.
Yes.
So
Did you find that as a struggle? Were you working for free at all at any point?
I did what I decided to do for myself was that if I was going to work for free, I would own the work, right? So anything I did for free, I was like, this has to be a personal project, and this is mine. So if you want it, you have to buy it from me.
I love that. That's so much smarter. I don't think a lot of us, because, I had that period of my career where I worked for free for the whole first year, and I don't know any of that footage. And I didn't get, it was more just like exposure. And I feel that not a lot of people realize that everyone sort of has to do that, whether you're talent, whether you're camera, whether you're a photographer, whatever it is, at some point, you kind of have to go through that. And it kind of sucks.
Yeah. So like when I was doing those independent shows in SoCal, I didn't have anybody to sell the photos to, you know. So I would just go. I would shoot the photos. I would post them on my website, or I'd post them on like forums or something, and I would hope that eventually someone would want to buy one. And every once in a while, so every month I would email people at different magazines like Fighters Only or whatever, and I'd be like, hey, I went to these shows. These were the people I shot. Do you guys want any pictures? And so they would buy photos from me,
Oh,
you know,
wow.
and I just kept doing it that way. And that was the time when there were still a lot of fight magazines around. So I would just keep writing them and asking them, do you need pictures from this? Do you need pictures from that? So
And it ended up working out for you. And I think that must have also been a validation for your work that, hey, these people are willing to give me money now for my photo. So, hey, that clearly means I'm doing something right, right?
yes. Getting paid is a big validation.
It really is. I had the same exact thing. I was like, I'm not going to call myself a professional host until I start getting paid. And that was that. It took 2 years. What would you say is your favorite part, though, of taking photos?
My favorite part for sure is just absorbing and taking it all in. I love just watching and observing. One of the big things I wanted to do before I got into this was I wanted to make documentaries. And so this is kind of the same thing. Photojournalism, I feel like, is the same vein, right?
Right.
All I do is just watch, and I look and I learn, and I just pay attention to things. And I find that that's just the best part of it. It's just kind of soaking it all in and remembering things.
Is it ever hard when, you're obviously you follow the product and the fights that are a big deal, et cetera, you're getting caught into the action. Is it ever hard to, avoid getting too excited to where it doesn't distract the fact that you don't want to miss that moment?
Uh, it's not hard to not miss the moment, but it is hard not to get excited. I definitely get excited. There has been early on, I for sure missed a couple of moments because I was like too excited or like too kind of worked up.
Right.
But now I'm better at running my shutter even when I am also like freaking out behind it.
Like all giddy. You're like, if that photo came out blurred, just know it's because I was probably too excited.
Yeah.
What would you say has been your proudest career moment or several moments that you've had?
Proudest career moment. I've had a couple for sure. Last year, was it last year? Maybe it was like 2 years ago now. I finally won the Boxing Writers Association photo award.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you. And it was for a Tyson Fury Deontay Wilder photo. And I had been entering for like the last like 6 or 7 years, and I had been honorable mentioned a couple years in a row. And so this was really exciting for me. It was a really big deal to me to finally get to win that, because it's like, you know, it's
Wow.
being chosen by your peers.
Of course, that's even more important, I guess you can say.
So it was a really big deal to me. And then just honestly, just getting to be, I mean, this is a long time ago. This is like one of my first jobs, but getting to be the photographer for Carano Cyborg, which was like the first women's fight on premium television. And then I was the official photographer for that event. And just everything that came with it made me feel really special. Like it just, I was really glad to get to be a part of all of these kind of moments. Like I also, a big thing to me is getting to shoot a lot of Invictus and being their first photographer for a while, and made me really proud.
That's really awesome. And again, it's just kind of like saying you're the official photographer. We don't want anybody else but you. That's really, really awesome. What sort of feedback do you get from the talent when they see their photos that you captured? Because I'm sure that they're thankful and they're appreciative that you do that, and they get to have that memory.
Um, well, one of the best compliments is, and this is not a nice thing necessarily for other photographers, but when, like, if I miss a fight or something, and a fighter will come and be like, "Oh, I didn't see you last weekend, and then I didn't see any photos, so I knew you weren't there."
And you're like, it's sad for all the other people, but good for you. That's funny. And it's like, obviously you're like, I can't be at every single thing, right?
Yeah, I can't be everywhere, but actually, one of the best compliments to me ever came from Carrie, who works for Bellator. Actually, she's like their operations manager, and she used to work for Strikeforce as well. And back in the day, she just kind of came up to me one day and said, she's like, "You know why I like your photos? Because they make me feel like I'm there. They look exactly what they look like to my eyes when I'm standing right there by the cage."
Wow, that's a beautiful compliment.
Yeah. And I was like, thank you. I try so hard to make that's what I want more than anything, to represent it as close to how it feels to me as possible. So,
Is there certain things that you like to capture in a photo? Like you're like, this is something that I feel like everyone has like a different eye for what they like to capture. For you, what is it? Is it emotion, action, moments? What is it?
definitely emotion and story for me. Like, it's for me, action a lot of times is just being accurate, knowing you're, getting the right moment is just timing, right?
Right.
Which is great too, but not everyone has the same timing for emotion, and not everyone wants to tell the same story. And uh, for me, emotion has always been the most important part. I mean, that's what fighting and even pro wrestling is all about, right? It's all of the
Right.
emotions and feelings that are coming forward, and why we love prize fighting is because it's so the stakes are so high every time, and so I always feel like it's important to kind of convey how much that means to that person.
And how much I think like a lot of us sometimes, we're seeing these fights and, we're seeing it from a further lens. But when you get up close and you get that moment captured in a photo, it's kind of like, oh, like this, I always like, for example, you're watching a fight and you have your reactions to the fight. But when you see your photos, you're seeing the reaction of the guys in the fight and how they felt in that moment. And I think that was one of the things that I noticed most from your photo, where it wasn't, oh, me as the viewer, my reaction. No, it was their reaction during this moment. So I think that's pretty awesome. What advice do you have for women or even for men that are trying to, break into sports photography?
Whew. I don't know if this is the best advice in terms of this is what worked for me. I just always, I think, went out of my way to be super professional. I'm polite. I'm professional. Uh, I've always shown up, properly dressed, I guess. Always, you probably notice like all of photographers always wear all black because we're trying to blend in and not be seen. The point of a lot of this photography is to not be the show,
Right, of
You
course.
don't want to distract. And so that's my main thing, is to make it about your work and not about you. Um, and then this is so stupid, but this is one of the things that like I really adhere to, is like white balance to me is so important. I do everything manual.
Oh
Um,
man, so you're always adjusting and whatnot.
and I do manual white balance by choice. So, and I know that sounds kind of weird. People might not know what that means necessarily, but what it is like, say, daylight is very blue, lamplight is very orange. And so I really, when I'm choosing what color to make something, that is an artistic choice. And I think people just have to realize that it's going to take a long time. You're going to have to make a lot of mistakes. It's okay to kind of copy other people's styles and just kind of work through it until you get to that point where you realize this is how my eye works, and this is what I want to shoot. And also just not to be afraid of learning new things. I'm constantly learning new skills.
Did you ever face any criticisms from other people that maybe, had more years ahead of you or experience, or was that never an issue for you?
Yeah, I mean, I just a lot of that stuff I was able to either chalk it up to being inexperienced, or for the first many years I had very cheap equipment, and I had an idea in my mind of what I wanted to get, but my equipment actually wasn't capable of
Right.
matching that yet. Um, and so I had a lot of that kind of stuff, and any advice I had gotten, honestly, I don't know what it is. I tend to block out the stuff that doesn't work. Like if it's not great, then I've kind of managed to forget it. When I started, you were asking me about like the difficulties of being a woman. I remember there were a lot of people that said stupid comments. There were people who were sexist. There was all that stuff. But it's been so long now. It's been like 12 years since I started, or 13 years, that I just managed to like erase a lot of it, because even though it was there, it's like it didn't help me. It didn't make me a better shooter. It didn't make
Right.
me a better photographer. So I didn't have a use for that stuff, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
And I almost feel like even if you get that at the start of your career, I don't know, I almost feel that once you start making a name for yourself, some people stop throwing those shots at women that are succeeding, because they kind of start to realize, you know what, maybe I shouldn't be messing with her. She has some friends or whatever, or some connections. Like you start building like this like shield, this like wall around you, where like you can't tear me down as easily as you could have 3 years ago or whatever.
Yeah, for sure. When I started, I was real sensitive, and no one really gave me that many critiques on my work, because I don't think that many people were seeing it. But uh, you just keep working, and you just keep trying to get better, and you try to fight back when is appropriate.
Right, exactly. So,
So,
like, what? Also, you get to work with your husband too. What is that like?
oh, it's a lot of things.
You're like, we see each other all the time. We need a break.
People ask me that all the time. They're like, "How do you work with your husband?" I can't even spend like more than yeah, we work together, and we have actually been working together even before we did MMA stuff together, because he worked in documentary, and I often did PA work on that. But it's both good and bad. We know each other so well, and we know each other's visuals really well, styles and the kinds of shots we're looking for and things like that. So a lot of times, like, I'll be a second camera for his video work, or he'll come out and shoot for me, and we have a very good connection artistically, and we're synced in that way.
I love
We have
that. Yeah, I
very
get
similar
you.
aesthetic. However, we do clash personality wise, because as I said, he's extremely extroverted and I'm extremely not. And so we kind of like butt heads a little bit. Like I'll be really quiet and he'll just be like really loud, and I'm very opposite. So yeah, there are times when I get really tired of it, but overall I'd say it's a plus. Yeah.
I honestly think that's a plus. Like, to be honest, I agree with you. I feel like having that person in your relationship that's opposite of you is so much better, because if you're the high energy person and you get with someone who's high energy, you guys just may be way too much for like other people. Or if you're both shy, then it's not going to work. You're probably never going to go out and meet people. So it's like you kind of have to have that balance where it's like you balance me out, I balance you out. So I actually think that's pretty nice, you know?
He's like the president of my fan club, you know? He
Yeah,
started
keep
my
it going.
Facebook page for me. He started my Instagram for me because he was like, you know, you need to have an Instagram account. I was like, okay.
Yes. How long did it take you to start the Instagram account? I feel like that would be like the first thing, don't you think?
Yeah, you know, you would think so, but I don't think I got one until like I don't know, like 2011 or something. It took me a while. I
Yeah.
definitely didn't start it. He started it for me. So
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I like that he incorporated that for you because as you know, like Instagram for photographers is everything, no matter what form of photography you're doing. Have you ever like done any other type of photography, like aside from action, any editorial, landscape, or have you had any interest in that?
yeah, I do actually have interest in when I first started, I did some editorial work for magazines, some fight magazines, and I did a little bit of advertising work. So um like a couple of years ago I did like the entire catalog for Adidas Combat Sports.
Wow,
So
that's incredible.
but like stuff like that is so much fun and I love it because it's such a challenge and it's not what I normally do. And then I also did a lot of portraits of like I did when Strikeforce went under, or when they got bought out by the UFC and the UFC basically took all of their talent, they also brought in their ring girls. So I, you know, did all the photos of the ring girls and stuff like that. So, you know, it's been all over the place. I've wanted to do a lot more. I wanted to learn a lot more, but you know, your brain only has room for so much. I don't know. I hope one day that I get to do things like take photos in the Antarctic or something.
That's wonderful. And you led me into my next question. My next question for you is going to be, what are some of your future goals, some of the things that you want to check off your bucket list, whether it be in photography, not in photography, whatever it may be?
Check off my bucket list. To I'd like to publish like a real book at some point. I'd really like to have like printed photos just look so much better. I used to do an annual of all of my work for my clients. So like every year, if you hired me for a job, I would send you like a booklet of all the major photos I did that year. And
Wow. That's
it was
really thoughtful.
always
I like that.
it was always a big thing that all of my clients actually look forward to. After a while, like the years I stopped doing it, you know, because I got too busy around the end of the year, people would be like, "Where's the book?"
Like kind of like
So
a yearbook. Like we want to see it. It's that one thing we're all looking forward to.
yeah, that's one of my big goals. Is I would really love to publish. That's something I would really want to do. And the other thing is I would like to see more and travel more and just, you know, do more outside of fighting just to experience it. So
Amazing. So now we're done with the first portion of this interview, but my second portion is a lightning round that I do with all of my guests. It's sort of like a fun way to just kind of get to know you aside from everything that we just spoke about. So I'm going to ask you 10 random questions about yourself, and you just go ahead and answer them as fast as you can or however you want to answer them. So we'll go ahead and
okay.
get started. Are you guys ready for a lightning round with Esther Lin? Here we go. Question number 1. How many cameras do you own?
Maybe 8.
Question number 2. Best city you have traveled to for work?
Tokyo, Japan.
Question 3. How do you unwind after a long day?
I take a bath and get high.
Question number 4. Last movie or TV show you watched?
Homecoming.
Number 5. Favorite stadium/arena concession snack?
Ooh, wow, this is a Japan thing again. Yakisoba.
What is that?
It's like it's fried noodles.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Question number 6. Favorite holiday?
My favorite holiday. Oh man, I don't have one. You know what? I love New Year's.
Question number 7. Favorite candle scent?
Citrusy scents.
I like that. Favorite dessert?
Ooh, that one's a hard one. There's so many. I'm gonna go with honey toast for right now, which is like a giant thing of brick toast with like ice cream on top and honey.
I've never had that, but it sounds beautiful. Question number 9. Dream vacation?
Ooh, Ooh, dream vacation. I've always wanted to go to Palau. It's an island in the Pacific, and on it, on the island, there is an old volcanic lake that has a bunch of jellyfish in it that don't have stingers anymore because they've evolved to not have stingers because they've been there without predators and whatever. They've been just floating around for years and for eons. And so you can swim with jellyfish and not get stung.
Wow, I had no idea about that or even know about that. I love that. I'm gonna Google it later on. And last question, question number 10, your favorite social media app.
Ooh, that would have to be Instagram. Yeah.
Awesome. So that goes ahead. That is pretty much our show for today. But before we go, Esther, where can people follow you on Instagram, Twitter, and all of that?
All of the on all of the platforms, I am all Elbows, ALLELBOWS. So. Yes.
Perfect. Thank you so much for doing this interview with me. It was really awesome. For those of you guys watching, please make sure to give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, make sure to follow Esther, and in the comment section below, let me know what you guys thought about this interview. And until next time, we'll see you guys later. Bye, everyone.